the midst of the fierce battles of the Middle Ages, when Vikings and knights fought each other and everyone was just trying to survive, they all fought with swords that were very primitive, heavy, slow, rusty, full of defects. The making of these swords was done with small furnaces that could not handle high temperatures, so the metals were impure and would break or lose their shape very quickly. But there was one sword that shone among them all like a diamond in the middle of coal. A sword that was so sharp, smooth, and perfect that it seemed to have been made with 21st century technology. His name was Ulfberht. In some places, it is also pronounced as Ulfberht. There was a writing hacked into its blade in strange letters. VLFBERH+T is a mysterious combination of Latin letters, whose exact meaning is unknown. Some even said it was the name of a person who put his name on the sword. Some believe that this name was a sect or clan. But many believe that this is not just a name. A secret, a code to say that this sword is different from the others. This is no ordinary weapon. When archaeologists found these swords, they couldn't believe that something like this existed in the 9th century. It was completely ahead of its time in terms of design, metal, and lines and symbols. This is something that immediately leads everyone's mind to a big question. Who made this? How did you make a sword that was ahead of its time? Now, this sword has something else that is even more strange. It's metal. In the Middle Ages, most swords were made of iron that was of very low quality. At that time, no one could raise the temperature of the furnaces high enough to completely melt the metals and remove their impurities. This meant that swords would quickly bend, break, or become virtually useless in the middle of battle. Ulfberht was different. When experts examined the swords with modern equipment, they discovered that the metal used in these swords was something called bush-hammered steel. This steel is only made at very high altitudes. You have to put the pig iron in a ceramic crucible, raise the temperature to 1600 degrees, and then let it cool slowly to obtain a completely pure and strong steel. But the problem is that Europe didn't even know such a technique existed until the 18th century, let alone wanted to use it. So what does that mean? This means that someone in the 9th century was able to do something that Europeans couldn't do for 100 years. If this technology didn't belong to that era, where did it come from? Who brought it? This is where things get even stranger, as trade with the East involves a secret network and even traces of lost civilizations. Let's take a closer look at it, especially that mysterious writing on the sword that they say is some kind of code. The story is that about 170 of the swords of the fallen have been found, but they are not all the same. The shape of the letters in the same VFB script, the order in which they are written, the placement of lines and spaces, and even the style of making the swords are different. This indicates that some of them were probably genuine and some were fake. But why fake? It's as if in the past Ebert's swords were some kind of luxury brand of their time. A sword that only nobles, noblemen, or special warriors could own. Swords like this seem to be considered a kind of power and prestige. But there is a more bizarre hypothesis. Maybe this wasn't just a signature or brand. Maybe it was the password to a secret network, a kind of password between members of a special sect that made swords with a hidden technology and only gave them to those in that circle. If this password was really an identification mark between members, then we are talking about a secret group that 100 years ago had access to high technologies and some kind of secret knowledge that we still don't know exactly what it was. Here, everything gets even stranger because there is a trail that takes us to the east, especially to a land like Iran, India. At that time, around the 8th and 9th centuries AD, there was an advanced technology in the east called steel and iron. This steel was a unique type of metal that was made using advanced methods and had a special wavy pattern on its surface. The same steel that later became famous in Damascus and is called Damascus steel. This steel was not only purer and stronger, but it also had a magical feel due to its special surface pattern. So our question is, were Ulfberdt's swords made from this same steel? And if yes, how to get to Northern Europe from the east? Some researchers believe that these swords entered Europe through secret trade routes by Arab or Iranian merchants, perhaps the Vikings, who had attacked areas like Baghdad and the coast of the Caspian Sea, plundered these metals. But there is an even stranger theory. The fact that the swords were transmitted through trade, not through a network of hidden knowledge, means that a small group, perhaps a sect or even a group of Sufis, alchemists, or special warriors, had the technology to make this steel with them and transmitted it in secret. In any case, it is clear that these swords were not just weapons, but a warning or a message, or perhaps a clue to things we do not yet know. Let's examine a strange hypothesis that has tempted many historians and independent theorists in recent years. That perhaps behind the swords of Berthes there was not just a specific craftsman or king, but a secret cult. What makes the hypothesis stronger are those specific and recurring patterns. That swords don't just have one name. There is a mysterious order in their design and writing. A specific style of engraving, a similar metal formula, and a strange repetition in the combination of symbols seem to be the work of a group rather than one person. Some say that this sect may have been a secret branch of the Knights Templar that began operating long before their official date, or perhaps a group of secretive Christian craftsmen who had direct ties to the Middle East. Another theory even says that these may be the remnants of a lost civilization, such as remnants of Atlantis or forgotten inhabitants of Europe, who had high knowledge but disappeared, leaving only their traces in strange works like Gaspard. Remember, in that era, all knowledge, power, and even written language were things that were in the hands of a very select few. So encryption, or using a symbol instead of a name, was a common thing in secret circles. Your badge may not be a name at all. It may be a code. A kind of membership badge. The story of the Beret or Ulfberht swords is not just a technological mystery. This sword has truly changed warfare. Imagine that on a battlefield like the coast of Scandinavia, everyone is fighting with heavy, strange, and unstable swords, but one of the commanders or main warriors has this sword in his hand, which is faster to strike, slower to break, and much easier to pierce through the enemy's armor. Whoever wielded this sword had a practically deadly advantage. That's why many people are willing to pay a lot of money to own one of these swords, but the swords of Ulfberht were only given to special people. That means you either have to be a nobleman, a chosen warrior, or a member of the same secret network. Some medieval sources mention warriors who had a shining sword with extraordinary power. Or, for example, enemies spoke of a fantastic, bloody sword that nothing could stop. Maybe these were the same ones, a superior weapon that has caused some battles to end in favor of those who possessed it. Archaeologists have found some of it. Check it out one by one. They scanned it with ultra-modern equipment, but no one can say for sure who made it, how it was made, or what it was for. These swords are a message from the past, an encrypted message that has not yet been opened. We only know a few things about him. These swords were ahead of their time. The metal is strange and wonderful, a mysterious name for the hacked method. That maybe it's not a name, but a code, and that some still believe that there is a secret behind this sword that, if it is fully discovered one day, may change our view of the history of technology and even the origins of some civilizations. From now on, don't look at swords as simple metal. Maybe that sword isn't just a piece of metal. Maybe it's a missing piece of a much bigger puzzle, a puzzle that no one has yet completed. Until the unknown factor dies.